All right. Hello, everyone. So welcome to the most interesting people on my timeline. My name is Tania, and this is a multimedia series / archive of people who have crossed my path and caught my attention IRL and in the digital space. If you're new here, welcome. This is going to be the finale of season 2.
Oh my god!
The finale of season 2, the only interview that was in person.
Guys, this is what I'm finding out right now.
So, and I'm here with Leo Velour.
Hi.
Hello. I'll let you introduce yourself in a second, but I wanted to let people know you can find more information at taniadoes.com/Leo Velour. There'll be links and images kind of highlighting all your work in one space so people can hit you up wherever you want to be found. You know, Leo Velour, you're a designer, you're a performer, an all-around baddie, honestly.
Oh my god, thank you.
All-around baddie.
Yes.
You know, welcome to this episode. Welcome to the season finale. Leo, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so great. I'm honored to be here. It's always great talking to some girl who is a girl boss. You know, she's live, laugh, and loving, getting her podcast started.
literally, we're here and Leo sees my setup and it's like rascuache ass second iPhone with the mic that you brought.
Listen, you know what we provide? It's a collective. It's,
collective vision.
Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself a little bit? I know I said, designer, performer, but let's elaborate.
No, for sure. Hi, I'm Leo Velour, everyone. I'm just your average early 20s kid, just try to live in the world. I go by they, them pronouns. Full name Leo Velour. You can find me at Leo Velour or at leovelour.com. LeoVelour. I'm an artist from, young age. I just kind of like to say that as an all-around kind of encompassing word. I did fine art for 12, 13 years. I did graphic design. I've done visual communication. I've done drag, which is where that performance part comes from. I've done other components, and I think it's just such a fun thing to be a creative person and have a vision that you share through different experiences and different modes of doing that. I'm also a party girl. I'm in a party girl era.
Yes.
Hot girl shit.
Party girl.
Oh my god, can we cuss? Can we? Is it explicit?
Yeah.
Oh my god, wig. Okay, yeah, hot girl shit.
I don't have any sponsors that
all right.
not to.
Hot girl stuff, party girl stuff. I love concerts, which is where we met. We met at a concert. And I just love, being around creative people, doing creative things, going out, living life, and having fun while doing so. Looking cute. I'm a fashion designer as well, so I do a lot of fashion just for me, for art projects, for drag queens around. And it's just really fun to work with fashion, work with two-dimensional spaces posters, magazines, that type of situation, and just be able to experience the world of art in many different varieties.
Yeah, and like you said, we met at an Omar Apollo concert.
Omar Apollo, papi, hi, hello.
I know you're watching.
We know you're watching, so hit us up, slide through. I'm wearing your hat.
Oh, you're right. Did you get that at this concert?
In honor of me meeting Tania at the Omar Apollo concert, I wore one of the hats I bought.
No, because y'all were first in line for that meet and greet, and then my friend Maria, who was visiting, was in second in line. Yeah. And I just kind of snuck in there. But your outfit—that's what caught my attention, honestly. Oh my God. Amazing outfits. But we'll get to the talking about the outfits. Right. I want you to talk more about design specifically, because you talked about you like being creative all around. But what got you into being okay, but my bread and butter, it's gonna be design.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I loved fine art. I did it for so long. I really focused on watercolor and kind of more of the painting aspect of it. I did giant murals, did a bunch of different things, but I really, when I thought about going to college and stuff like that, I said, oof, okay, hi Gorgie, we need to make this profitable somehow. Yeah. And obviously you can totally do that, going with the right school, going everything like that. But mama did not have the funds to go to a big art school or whatever, so I decided, okay, well, let me transfer that to other things that I can do. I love, the packaging of things. I love magazines. I love all of those different type of things where I think of ads or things that visually connect with the public that's more broader. So I thought okay, well, let's look at graphic design. And when I started going, looking to schools and stuff like that, I decided to go to community college first because I was like, okay, let's try it out, whatever. And through my college, we had a special visual communications program, which basically had a bunch of different things that are like visual components, so like graphic design, photography, all that different stuff. And I took that and I said, okay, wait, I know fashion, I know photography, I know how to design, I know how to illustrate, do all that stuff. Why not go into this career of visual communications to encapsulate everything together and facilitate an environment for myself where I can be creative and use all my outlets to encompass something that's, one, like a vision that brings everything together. I thought, great.
Wow. And like you're like, I know fashion.
Yeah.
I know like I can do this. And I think that like going into that, it doesn't matter what school you're gonna end up going to if you know like what your skills are. And you just need to learn like what are like the hard skills or like whatever, like practicing and stuff. Like
because I think like sometimes when I think college is great. College is beautiful. I know you went to Harvard, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna tell everyone to go to college.
Yeah. And like, that's great. I love that for you. I obviously went to a community college. Some people don't go to college, but I think like it's important to think about how like whatever you want to do, having a different path might be best for you. Some people like don't even go to school. Like if you just want to like, go do your thing and school's not for you, go do your thing. Some people know like I need to go to trade school. Because I want to be an electrician or whatever. And like some people realize like different things are for different people. I thought like for me being a creative, I think if like you said, if you have the skills, if you have the drive, the ambition, I think you can totally like straight out of high school go find a job if you really wanted to, if you have the skills, the portfolio, the built up artwork that you have, take that and go. Like I've seen one of people like go with their portfolio and like maybe not do so well because they don't have like some skills that school could teach you. But some people, they have the eye, they have the knowledge. Maybe they don't know like the specific terms of the industry, but like they have such a great vision, such great work ethic, such great abilities that they're able to just prosper immediately.
Yeah. And like, yeah, kind of like you said, everyone's gonna have their own path, right? Like when I went into college, I didn't know I wanted to do film and stuff. And so that's why I was like, okay, I'll just Harvard's fine. But then if I'm thinking about it, if I had known I wanted to be in that space before, I might have gone somewhere else because Harvard's not like a film school. Like you're not gonna learn a lot of the skills that you're gonna need in the industry sometimes. So it's kind of like you need to go where it's gonna be beneficial for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think like obviously it's hard as you're 18, 17, 19, whatever, graduating high school. Like it can be so hard to like visualize yourself like, oh, where am I gonna go, where am I gonna do this. Like I know for me, like I since middle school like had my dream school I was going to, and I was like, girl, I'm set, like it's good for me. Like I ended up like what by the time I was like gonna get accepted, I did get accepted obviously. I got like, it was a private school, so I got like $270,000 in scholarships from them, like grants. And I was like, that's great, but like also school was super expensive. Every semester was $40,000, like stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, we'll pivot the plan. And I feel like some people like you're not able to plan that much ahead if you don't know what you want to do. Like I know I wanted to do art from the beginning, but some people like can flip flop or whatever. So I'm just going to like a 4-year school where you can do like a lot of different things at once. It's good, but sometimes like you said, maybe you wanted to go to film school if you knew. Yeah. That would have been so much helpful for you. And like obviously Harvard's a great name, but sometimes if there's a great film school, like that name might do better on the application or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I like how you said like you pivot if you're like, that's how you know you kind of want it. If you hit a roadblock, you're like, no, I'm still gonna do it. Maybe this other way, but I'm still gonna do it. Then like you're finding ways to do it. And so like then one of my other questions was like, how did you learn about design and packaging and brands? But maybe more like a better question is like, how did you find like your design vision? Like how did you find that? How you approach to design?
I get that. So I love packaging. I'm one of those weird people who okay, listen, this is my graphic design brain kind of pop in, but like I love to keep packaging sometimes. Like if it's like a pretty box or like a pretty bag, I know maybe that's like, since we're both YouTube kids, when like the girlies had the cute shopping bags and like they framed the bag. So maybe that's where like my vision comes from, where I'm like, ooh, or like when I see like an Apple product and like it's the nice box, and everything, you're like, I'm like, ooh, kind of like that. So I think that's where it stems from, where I'm just like, oh, like when something looks nice, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like I wonder like how that was made, or like, oh, I like how like these boxes, when put together side by side on the shelf, when you'd be shopping, like they continue a design or something. So I think like that's where I kind of started getting the interest from. I really love like vinyl and stuff like that, which I know we're gonna talk about, whatever.
Yes.
And I love like, you know, when the vinyl comes packaged really well or something like that, or like just visual components of everything. I think of like, you know, a pop girl. I love a pop girl. And so when I think like they have good visuals, you know, from the music video to the CD to the everything, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And so I think me coming from like a lover of fashion and just like magazine work and, you know, pop music, I think having all those come together into one vision is what usually gets me inspired. So like I love you know, bright colors. I like, was always known in school as like using like really bright colors, and some people might go like, you know, blacks and like a muted green, and it'd be like, okay, no, pink all the way. Everything's pink. Everything's covered in pink. And I just love that. I think it's so interesting to like how everyone has different influences. You know, I have friends who are like influenced by a lot of films and are influenced from like, you know, manuals and stuff like that, because you want to do different things. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and like you said, like music and music packaging for vinyl, and like I'm also just thinking like K-pop albums, like the you're gonna keep the packaging, like the packaging is important. You're not gonna throw it away.
The K-pop girlies scare me. I'm like, they're so good. Like, what would you not like about it? Like, people who don't like K-pop, I'm like, listen, I'm not the
It's so fun. It's so fun though.
Like, I don't know everything. You know what I mean? Like, I know like some like in. I was One Direction girly. Let's be real here. Let it be known. I'm so sorry. So I know for some people, learning those 5 names was hard. What is it? NCT 127 has like 22 members.
I just stepped into like the NCT universe. Girl. I still don't even know the core 10 from 127.
Literally, it's crazy. Just so like I get that, but also like the music's good, guys. The music is good. Like get a good K-pop song on. Ooh, I'll be like bopping. I don't know what they're saying, but girl, I'm living. And like the K-pop packaging is so good, so great. Like the little boxes for just a CD single, crazy.
I think more like a Western pop girly should emulate that. I would love like I actually saw him the other day on TikTok, like Bad Bunny photo cards that somebody had made. I'm like, he needs to start making these himself. Like,
I'm sorry, get the money and go, because it's a little piece of paper.
Please.
The girlies will be buying that like off like secondhand on Mercari or on Depop or whatever, and it'll be like $30 for a piece of paper. I'm like, that's crazy. Go off.
Collectors are crazy. I just, if I buy an album, it's like whatever I get. I'm not gonna go out and buy more. I did once, but no more. I was like, this is enough. But yeah, people just do that all the time. But it's because the packaging is so good and just the concept of being able to like trade and make it like a social thing.
It gives me like Pokemon card energy. Yeah, I'm also a Pokemon card person, like a Pokemon in general. So I get that aspect of like wanting to trade it. I have some photo cards. I'm not gonna lie and act like I don't have them. But paying so much, I'm like, oof, y'all are wild. But I get it. Yeah,
but like outside of K-pop, you also go to like different concerts as well, and like you always get there early. You always get there early.
Yes, I love being early, because listen, if it's not Barricade, I mean, it's fine. You know what I mean? But if you're at the front and you're able to like scream the lyrics like to the artist looking down on you, oh, absolutely. Oh yeah. And you have that little connection like eye to eye. You're just like, you know, hi, like hello.
As they're performing, and it's like, it's you and me.
Yeah. Oh, it's you and me. Like, yeah. No, I've done a lot of tours, and especially like if you do on the same tour multiple shows, and they recognize you, and they're like, oh, you know, or whatever. It's super cool. Like recently, I was able to go on the Club Paradise tour from Slayter, and I went from LA to Portland to Seattle. I did a whole little mini road trip. I've always wanted to do like a groupie moment. And I was like, okay, this is my chance. Let's go. Tickets are cheap. Like, let's go VIP meet and greet. And it's so cool. Like, she, like, in Seattle, like, the last stop I went to, I dressed up as Dorothy, which is what she did for her album cover. And it was so cool. Like, she stopped me on the street, actually. And she was like, oh my God, Leo, Leo, Leo. And she was like, we, like, talked on this little corner of, like, some random street for, like, 40 minutes. And, like, people were asking me to take pictures because, obviously, I'm, like, dressed up in the middle of the day. And she's just like sitting there waiting for me, and it's so cool, you know, to like have someone you idolize being like, oh shit, like, hey, like, and like she followed me on Instagram and on Twitter, and like wrote like a set list printed out for me, and she like wrote on this giant note. And it's so cool. She even like laminated it. I was like, girl, where are you getting a laminate machine? But slay, go off, and it's super cool. And like she'll slide up in my DM sometimes and be like, "How are you?" Or like, "Oh, I love this outfit that you're making," or blah blah blah. And it's just so sick. Like when you connect with an artist, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I've never done that before. Go to multiple dates, but that like, if I were an artist and I saw someone do that, I'd be like, yeah, I'm giving you a laminated thing. You're getting everything.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. I have my 3 VIP passes hanging in my room. Like I have like vinyl I took, and she like signed it and like wrote some real like lyrics on it, and it's so cool to like have that, because like, you know, obviously like some people are like, don't sign it personally because like then you can't resell it, but I'm like, I don't want to resell it, it's mine. Like she's all like writing on it, she's like, to Leo, and then like blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, it's so cool.
Do you always get your vinyl signed? Like can we talk about your vinyl collection a little bit?
Oh my god.
Yeah, when did you start that? Like all of that, all the questions.
So as we know, YouTube kids, you know, like we're like that type. Obviously, a lot of those people are also Tumblr kids.
Of course.
Think about Electric Heart, the 1975, Oil Spills, Doc Martens.
Yes.
Like that was my era. Like, and so I started it like kind of back then. Like early to mid high school, I started. I actually recently counted. I have 210.
Wow.
Which sounds like a lot, but compared to other people, it's not that much. And I've already sold and given away so many, so I know the number would have been higher. But yeah, I usually get them signed. So like if I have like a vinyl artist, or sometimes if I know I'm gonna see an artist and I don't have their vinyl, I'm like, research, Google, come on, like where can I get a vinyl? And if they have any, I'll order it and like I'll get it signed. So like at Omar's first show, we were out there really early, and he actually was coming back from brunch to like do rehearsals, and it was just me, my friend, and some girl we met like walking around, and she was so cool. He was like, "Oh my god, wait!" Like, you know, we're all starstruck because he's like tall, handsome,
He's so tall,
and like first, and like it's just so cool. And he was just like, "Oh my god, you have it," and I was like, "Oh my god, okay, can you sign it, please?" Like we're all starstruck. We like couldn't say anything. And he was like, "What's your name?" And he was like Tulio, like drew like hearts and smiley faces and stuff on it, and it's super cool. Like, so I just have like a giant section of like my collection. It's just like all science stuff from different artists. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and do you also? I know a lot of people like collect this. It's the same record, but in like different colors, different packaging, exclusive, all of that. Is that something you're into as well?
Listen, maybe I do.
There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
I sometimes do. It's only if it's a record I really really love. Like sometimes, like I'll buy a record. I'm bad. I get it. Sometimes I'll buy a record just because I love one song. Like I love it so much. I'm just like, okay, I need to hear it and experience it on my turntable. But if I really love an album, I'll be like, okay, go. We're variant collecting, which is that's what it's called, you know. So sometimes you'll get even alternate artwork, you know, so the front looks different. So it's really cool to do that. And some people go hard. Like I know Miss Taylor Swift.
I was about to say.
Girly.
Miss Taylor Swift.
I'm not a Taylor girl. Like you know, we love her. Good for her. She's doing great things. But sometimes she'll release like 10 variants, and people will go off. Like I have a vinyl account on Instagram. And so, like, I follow people, obviously, and, like, they'll be, like, posting all 8 vinyl, and I'm like, ooh. And
it's because she's gonna make it, it's like a clock. You have to buy 4
and Midnight's, right? Yeah, Midnight is doing 4, but, like,
clock.
Folklore had, like, 8 or something.
Oh my god.
And, like, I was seeing people's stories, and, like, the totals on that shipping and that cart and everything, I was like, ooh, y'all are crazy.
Yeah.
But to each their own, you know what I mean?
No,
if that's your pop girl, again, I get it, like.
Yeah. And all of that is just different packaging. Literally, the power of design.
The power of design will get you spending so much money. It's crazy. Like, if it's a collector's edition, it's like a cooler little box, you know, or whatever. Maybe it includes a poster or a booklet. It'll like double the price. People will buy it. It's crazy. Design is so powerful. In which, like, you know, just changing the picture and the front, you know, the cover art can change it so much. Like, whether I love artists that like, you know, get their vinyl pressed to match, you know, the cover art, you know, so like it can sometimes continue the theme of the album and the era on just like a color alone, you know, and sometimes just like like changing it for a special edition to highlight a different color on the artwork or something. It's cool and it's interesting, and I totally get why people want to collect all of them. Money wise, sometimes I'm not always there, but like I would too, you know what I mean? Like I do it sometimes.
No, yeah, that's like. I don't collect vinyl. I don't collect a lot of things, but the fact that again, it's it could be a different design. It could be a different color vinyl, and that's just enough of value to be like collected.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's crazy. No, but I love that. And then another thing that I like really found interesting about you was your fashion sense, because you were dressed to the nines for the Omar Apollo concert. And then you were talking about with Slayter, like people were stopping, like taking pictures with y'all. Like, how do you find the confidence to don your apparel? And then two, like, how do you like go about for styling yourself?
Oh, for sure. That's a fun question. I love to turn out a look. Listen, there's something about queer culture where we just love doing it, you know, drag and going clubbing and having fun. But there's not many chances sometimes. Like I think like if you live in like a big metropolitan city like LA or New York, you know, you're gonna always have chances. There's parties everywhere. There's events to go to, whatever. But we live in Little Oregon. And the Portland is cute sometimes. Like sometimes it's like not giving what's meant to be gave. So when I go to concerts, I'm like, okay, everyone's crazy. Everyone's there to have fun. I want to dress down, you know? And it's cool because sometimes, like, people remember you. Like, the first night that we met, obviously, in Portland for Omar's show, when I went to go see him 4 days later at his other show in Eugene, he remembered me. And, like, all the band members were like, oh, you're the person that had, like, the leather on and everything like that. Because I wore, for the people who don't know, I wore black jeans, black pants, a white like button down with bows all over it, and then like a leather harness, leather belt, leather collar, everything. And for example, like I also went to go see Rina Sawayama this year, which amazing show. Oh my god, if you can ever see her live, please do. And she had just done Coachella the weekend prior, so I decided to recreate her Coachella look, and I did not have a meet and greet ticket, whatever. But I went there, whatever, just to have fun. I got there really early because I said if I'm not getting VIP, I want to get as close as I can to the front. And then someone actually had an extra VIP meet and greet ticket because their friend didn't show up, and they were like, "Hey, we've seen you here since literally we drove by this morning. Do you want my extra ticket? Like, you don't have to pay me. It's fine. You can just have it." Literally me crying.
Damn.
Yeah. And so I was last in line to meet her at the Portland show, and iconically, she looks at me and she's like, "That's my Coachella."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Oh my god, yes! Like, so glad you noticed." Whatever. It was like an all denim fit with like little shorts, and like they had ostrich feathers at the trim. And I actually got posted on her Instagram on her main feed. And so like
main feed.
Yeah, and then the caption is just like, shout out to the Pixel who dressed up as me, like I love you so much, Illy. And everyone in the comments is like, it's Leo Velour, it's Leo Velour. Like it's so cool. And then like at other shows I'll get recognized. Like when I went down to LA for a Slayter show, someone was like, wait, are you that person who was like on Rina's feed? Like you look so familiar. And I was like, oh my god, yes, how do you recognize me? So sometimes I'll be recognized in other shows, and like you know, a lot of the artists I listen to, like the fan bases kind of cross over a lot. So it'll be like, oh my god, wait, are you Leo? Are you Leo? And I'm just like, yes, I am. Oh my god. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's kind of cool to like at the same time, you know, when you dress up so well, or like try to have fun and stand out, like people recognize you every once in a while. So I like to always like, if I can, go based off the cover album. You know what I mean? That's usually where I first start. I'm like, okay, I see this is what they're wearing. Let me kind of tailor it towards that. Or if not, like just like the general era, the fashion, you know, because pop girls really love to like have a certain aesthetic for every album. So if I can follow that a little bit, I'll try it. If not, girl, balls to the wall. Let's go crazy, you know, like let's wear some like custom creepy hot leather stuff. Let's wear some other stuff. Like there's a lot of iconic fashion people that I love to follow, and so if I can snatch up some accessory too, I'm like, let's go.
Right. And how do you like or like where do you shop? Where do you find your pieces? Or like do you make some of your stuff?
Yeah, so I fashion design as well. I started in high school. Like that's when I really like got my first sewing machine and everything. Which like so thankful because that opened up so many other possibilities of creativity for me. Whether it's making outfits and stuff for photo shoots for people to wear, or you know, drag queen friends that I have and friends that I don't know, you know. So I do make a lot of my own stuff. And I love supporting like other artists. It can get expensive because obviously fashion design, and especially if you're an independent person, it can be a little bit expensive. I know we're talking about shout outs later today. So I guess I'll say some of them now. There's an artist, her name's Vesper, I think, and she has a brand called Man Made Skins, and she does a lot of like vegan leather work. And it's everything she makes is so show stopping. Like she released a capsule collection for Valentine's Day this year, and I got a little leather skirt and like a harness, like heart cross crop top situation, and like some gloves. I love shopping with Creepy Ha, who's also another iconic leather worker. She does a lot of stuff with like bondage inspired situations, a lot of like leather work belts and pearls. Um, and it's cool because like some of these artists, some of these people have been worn by like Melanie Martinez or Doja Cat, Ariana Grande. So like I'm like, oh my god, I'm wearing some of the same stuff. And so it's super cool to like wear that, but also like I think it's there's so much power in styling because everyone I think can buy clothes. You know, everyone can buy things, but having the eye to style it properly, whether it's like using the right colors or the right textures, like so sometimes like I'll buy something cheap from like H&M, but then like style it up with something from another store and build upon that look. I think it's so important. It's so cool like when someone can go to a show, especially if you go to a show and you see everyone kind of dressed like in similar aesthetics, you're like, oh, everyone gets it. Like everyone sees the vision.
And when did you first learn how to sew and like alter your own stuff?
So like I always used to like sometimes I would like hand sew when I was really little. And then in high school I got to like getting a sewing machine. I took like a clothing workshop class where we learned how to sew and do different things. And I just like had this like really weird natural like talent, I guess, to like working with it. So people like were doing like little drawstring backpacks or something, and I immediately was like making fur coats. I was doing like gowns and stuff like that, and I think it's so cool to like be able to learn, whether it's just like how to fix your own zipper or like fix a button or make your own suit. I think like I don't have that level of like high tailoring or whatever, but like I'm able to create something. So I'm just like, oh wow, like that's kind of sick. Like I recently entered like my county fair and like won first prize and like for this dress I submitted, and it's really cool to like see your work like be on display and people look at it and like find you for it.
Wow, congrats on that. I did not know that. No, and I think like you said something important about like everyone should learn even just to like mend their stuff. Like I know like my grandma and my mom taught me to sew and like crochet when I was really young, and I just like went from there. I don't know how to make like elaborate clothes or anything, but I can like mend something if I need to.
Yeah.
Have I? No, like our couch cushion is still broken. I have not, they're like tore and I have not mended it, but I could.
But you could.
I could.
Knowing that you can, instead of having to go buy something completely different, I'm like, sick.
Yeah, and it lasts a little. It's like, wow, I didn't have to go and do all that, and then have to get rid of this.
Save money, y'all.
Save money, so learn how to sew. So, like next, actually, can you talk a little bit about that dress, that one?
Oh my god, yeah, for sure. It was like a really small, like quilted, short dress. I work a lot with tulle. That's kind of like my big fabric. And also like this quilted like fabric I use. Like I don't even know what you would call it, but it's basically like thick, like a little blanket kind of material. So I use that. And it's like a short, like it's segmented, and it's just like white. I wanted to kind of when I design, I loved knowing that the design itself of like the garment is gonna stand out properly. So like obviously patterns, colors, texture, that's also cool to like play with. But when I design, I like to start basing off of like just white, just plain. Like if it was just one color, would it still look good? Would it still be interesting? Like whether using different textures of fabric or embellishing with like glass rhinestones or like pearls or whatever, like all that is like super important to me, because I want to convey something, you know what I mean? Like I want to feel like a feeling, and like this dress was like really short, and it looked like a cloud because it was white and it was really puffy, and it was kind of inspired by just like my friendship with my best friend. Her name's Liz, and we do a lot of things together, and I was just like, oh my god, I want to do like a little dress that like is inspiring of like just like the youthful playfulness of like because when you think of a little kid with like a tutu, you're like, oh my god, they're having fun, they're twirling, they're vibing, dance class. And so this dress was very puffy, like a giant tutu, and it was kind of like every time you walked or you twirled, like it would bounce, it would like flow, and I think it was really fun to do.
When do you like you have an eye for making something like elevated? When do you know like when to stop? You're like, okay, I want to be extra, but this is too extra. How do you go about that?
Sometimes, girl, put it on, look in the mirror.
Yeah. That's
all. Yeah, you gotta like just be honest and be like, okay, that was a choice. But I think pre-planning is a lot of it, like just looking at it beforehand, being like, okay, what do I want to do? Like I did some drag performance recently in down in California, and I was making this dress, and I had a lot of ostrich feathers on the top and on the bottom trim, and I started adding rhinestones to it, and I was like, I'll add a little bit to the bottom, but it feels like too much if I do the whole gown. So sometimes just looking at it and being like, will I regret that if I continue? And sometimes I like to take a picture of myself or someone wearing the garment, and then just going in on my iPad and just drawing on like what I want to envision, to add onto it. And then that way you can be like, oh wait, that looks completely different than what I would imagine. So I'm like, okay, let's stop there, or actually do it a little bit here, but not all the way. And that's kind of how I stop myself sometimes, because like I said, I'm an art kid. I'm a person who loves drag, who loves culture of so many different kinds. So, like I have all these like different like places I take inspiration from. So I want to sometimes just add it all into one piece, and I'm just like, okay, no, maybe if you keep these for a different piece, and like all these ideas mesh really well together. So like, wait for that later,
Right. And okay, now speaking of drag and into the drag world, you just did your performance in California. Can you talk about how you got into that and like adding this dimension of on top of fashion, the makeup, the hair, all of that?
Sure. So I've never done a club gig, which is where you perform at a club, obviously. I've done other things where like I do it for like artwork, or like photo shoots, or like in like a more theater sense. But I went down because I have a friend named Bijou Bentley. Bijou Bentley, hi. Down in Stockton, California, and she does a lot of shows and stuff like that. She has her own show that happens every month. It's called Dress Code, where everyone on the cast of the queens and everyone in the audience is like encouraged to like follow a certain dress theme. So last month, September, was Bijou's birthday month, and the theme of the dress code night was pink. And so I was like, oh, it's your birthday, it's pink, I'm going down. And then she was like, oh my god, wait, like, come crash at my place, like, you can stay with us, and like, do you want to perform? And I was like, oh my god, yes, I'm so down. Like, are you kidding me? So like, I had all these pink stuff that I collected, put my bags in, drove down to California, and it's super cool to just like think about like the aesthetics you want to follow. Because a lot of like drag kind of follows some similar aesthetics. But then you have like the more like art queens, or the more like fashion queens, or campy queens. Sometimes the makeup can change depending on the look. I like to do like semi-glamorous art kid drag, where like I want to feel like super like, oh, like I'm a woman, like you can't touch me, I'm no pictures please, no pictures please, that type of energy. But sometimes I really love doing like a really weird like squiggly eye or whatever, to like add dimension. I love a blue eyeshadow. Oh my god, you cannot take a blue eyeshadow away from me. I love her, and a bold red lip. Like if I'm like ever like I don't know what to do, I know my blue shadow, red lip, I'm good to go. Obviously like for the foundation, everything that's different. And then with hair, like it changes sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, I want to feel the fantasy, so I just want like a straight, wig that just like hits the floor. I'm just like yes. And sometimes I want like a really cool updo or a little bob or whatever. It changes. I feel like when you look at the garment, that's where I start. I always start garment first. I'm always like, I really love this piece of inspiration, and if I did it in this color, like how would that look? So then I'll like produce it, whatever, and I'll wear it, and I'm like, okay, now who is this person? Like what do they smell like? What is their hair usually like? Are they kind of messy? Like would they listen to like more upbeat like punk music, or would it be like a soft ballad? And when I think of that, I'm like, okay, this is the personality I'm taking on. This is the character that I'm invoking. So
you
like
set the whole scene.
yeah, so I'm like, she'd have black hair with like blonde streak, or like she would have green hair, and it's just kind of like think of it all in encompassing vision, I guess.
Yeah, and you have like this really interesting vision like that. So in Oregon, Portland is really the only place where sometimes it's popping, like with queer culture, like drag shows and things like that. But in like where you're from in Oregon, like how are you able to like live life and like creatively and express yourself like that?
So I live in a very small town of McMinnville, Oregon, and it's still say culture. She doesn't exist. You know what I mean? It's very much. I was very much an online kid from like the get go. I remember being like way too young to be like on Tumblr and on Twitter and like whatever. You know, and it's like, girly, please do not take my account Twitter. Thank you so much. It was probably made before I was 13. And stuff like that. So I was able to find a lot of community online and a lot of like different things. And when it came into real life, like obviously finding friends that were, you know, like-minded. Since I'm an art kid, there was a lot of, you know, queer kids in that, like those classes and stuff like that. So being able to find community through that way is really important and really cool to me. And then when it comes to in person, I am 22. I'm actually turning 23 tomorrow. Oh my god. Ooh. Yeah.
Birthday episode.
Yeah, not the birthday episode. Hi guys. And I turned 21 in lockdown of the great Pandemic Lovato, you know, the panoramic picture. And so I wasn't able to go to a club, you know, before that to like go see a drag show in real life or anything like that. Because although it's, you know, common in California or like other big places where like there's all age drag shows where kids can go, whatever. I don't have that, you know, especially like in a big small city like McMinnville. So then I didn't have that option of like driving to Portland and then go seeing something, whatever. But now that I'm older, I think it's so cool and important to like go out and go, you know, live with other queer people and like find that sense of community. Just because it's cool and you feel like a sense of like belonging. Not that I've ever felt like ostracized or like taken out from like another, you know, especially like my small town, but it's definitely cool to see people who like do dress in an ambiguous way, you know, exploring their gender, their sexuality, their references, their culture, whether that be, you know, Black culture, Latinx culture, Asian culture, straight, gay, you know, gender queer. And it's really cool to go out and do that.
Yeah, I feel like the internet was such like a big thing for me to like build an identity outside of like my town, or else I'd still be like in the Georgia suburbs, like soccer mom vibes.
Yeah,
you know?
no, and like that's great, obviously. You know what I mean? If like that's you, girl. Like do your thing, live, laugh, love. But I think like when you're exposed to different things, you're able to like be like, oh, that's not me, but like that's cool that exists, or like, oh wait, this thing I've been thinking, people are also thinking that. Like that's kind of cool. Like, um, I'm a non-binary like queer person, and so like you know, and then being Latinx, specifically Hispanic, you know, there's a lot of like machismo culture. There's a lot of like fear of like queer feminine energy from a male, or you know stuff like that. So growing up, finding people going on the internet, thinking like, oh, like other people don't feel, you know, totally masculine or totally feminine, and they're like kind of ambiguously living in this like gray area. Like that's so cool. Like I can do that. That's great. And then also being like, yes, I like men, but also I kind of still do like women though. You know, like there's some women I'm like, oh, you're really attractive. Um, so then I personally identify as like queer or like sometimes pansexual. Because I'm like, who am I to like restrain myself into only limiting myself to one category? Because I feel like I'm always like, oh, I don't know, I could fall in love with anyone. I'm also I romanticize life so much.
No, as we all should.
I live my life as a Wattpad story from 2012, written by a middle school girl who does not know anything about gay sex but still writes about it. And I can fall in love so easy and fall out of love so easily. I don't know. I just like, you look at me and I'm just like, oh my god, Tania, stop. No. Like, now you're inviting me to your house to do a podcast, but like, we're gonna fall in love and like go to a bakery after this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And like, yeah, just there's so many things that you like don't know about until you're able to read about it or like hear someone else talk about it.
And even just get the language to talk about how you're like feeling about it.
Exactly.
That's
Sometimes
all.
You don't
internet.
have that like the language, the characteristics to like express what you're going through.
Honestly though, sometimes I feel like the internet gave me feelings that I should never had. Like I was listening to Electra Heart. Why was I singing about all of this that I've never been through? You live vicariously through that.
I need to understand the reason I messed up. I fear is because since 2011, when I was 11 years old, to now, Miss Lana Del Rey has consumed half of my life.
Got my red dress on tonight.
Why was I thinking about coke, sugar daddies, running around, riding on a motorcycle with no home? Hello?
Literally. No, because the music video for Ride is the reason I am who I am.
I watched it so many times. I can tell you the entire like poet script, like the outro, the intro. like everything.
That'd be crazy, but I'm free. So she
God.
said it. And
I once wanted to be a beautiful poet, but soon saw those dreams dashed and divided like a million stars on the night sky that I wished on over and over and over again.
I don't think I've ever memorized, but I recognize it. I recognize it when I hear it. Anyways, internet culture influential, because she could have just dropped that if like we were in like the early pre-internet. She could have done that and it would have been a subculture. But because of the internet,
she raised a bunch of y'all. She raised a bunch of y'all, and you do not. We don't give her the credit. She is kind of messy now, but it's fine.
No, when you go. Being Alana Stan now, being Alana Stan then, being Alana Stan then. You're one of the most interesting people on my timeline, but who are the interesting people that are on yours?
Oh my God. Yeah, there's so many. I got these questions ahead of time, as viewers might know or not. That's some tea. And I really thought like, wow, there's a lot. You know what I mean? And so like trying to narrow that down. I think first and foremost, we've talked about her a lot, but Bijou Bentley, it's at bijou.bentley on Instagram. I think like seeing someone do drag and what they love and like post all the time, the stories, the posts on the main feed, it's so inspiring. And for someone like for me to know that I've like become friends with them is so cool, you know, to like know like, oh my God, I have a bestie out doing their thing like in a whole other state, you know. It's super cool. And I think like Bijou also went to school for illustration. So like they do commission work and they do their own paintings and stuff like that. So like seeing that be posted as well is super cool. Yeah, multifaceted queen, icon, legend. Another artist I love is a designer of fashion, like Creepy Yeehaw. I mentioned her earlier. Her art is just Creepy Yeehaw. And she works a lot with leather work. And though obviously I love the fashion, I buy the fashion. I obviously adore it. I also love that she has such a specific aesthetic with her photography and her marketing of fashion. She also like wears a lot of like other brands that are smaller as well. And so to see like, you know, other brands that she's pushing forward and to get to know other artists via her is so cool. And she just has such a cool aesthetic that like has transferred from her old Tumblr days. And to see a photography style that's more like moody and like not as bright, like she's not like by pools and like stuff that you see a lot of brands do nowadays. A lot of studio work. She like works a lot with like textures in the bag and like the textures of her clothing. And it inspires me a lot to like whether I want to do like a study of like sketching a female figure or like I just want to be like, oh, what fashion can I get inspiration from? Another one is someone that I mentioned again, Man-Made Skin. It's just Man-Made Skins on Instagram, and she does a lot of like leather work, but not just like belts and stuff like Yeehaw does, but she does a lot of like skirts and like corsets and stuff like that. And I think it's super cool that way that she like creates with such a rough material, but makes something look so soft and so feminine. And like she has a bunch of variety of bodies that, you know, she posts and stuff like that. And I think it's super cool to like see someone take a vision and really run with it. Like a lot of her clothing uses like ruffles and stuff, and like when it's made out of leather, like you think it wouldn't work, but it works so well.
Yeah,
and
leather ruffles.
Yeah,
I wanna
and it looks so cool. So I think right now like those are like my top three kind of that I'm always keeping an eye on. You know, there's obviously like the people that you have like an Instagram crush on that you're like, oh my God, like Wonho, that's my K-pop guy. I'm sorry, he just released a new track today, so we're just living. And but where can people find you, or like where do you have your work? Where do you want to be found online? Yeah, well, if anyone's interested in, you know, vinyl and stuff, I have a vinyl Instagram account called Leo Has Vinyl. That's the at. But if you want to do more personal stuff, I love, you know, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Leo Velour, LeoVelour, or check out my website, leovelour.com. I'm currently planning a little rebrand for the upcoming year, a big update where I'm gonna change a lot of like the aesthetic choices I did. But a lot of my graphic design work is on there, a lot of my fashion stuff is on there, and a little bit, you know, you get more to know about me, my biography. And so yeah, I'd love to connect with people. I love when people like send me an email or a DM, like always feel free. I check everything all the time. and I'd love to connect.
No, and your designs are amazing. I saw like the samples you have on your website for like fake brands, and I'm like, that's a labor of love right there. You'll think of a whole like imaginary album or brand, and you'll build a whole vision around it, which I think is really cool. So all of that will be linked in the description, by the way, and you can find it at taniadoes.com/Leo Velour as well. But go to like your website, obviously, above all of that. And so that comes to the end of like the questions that I had. I don't know if you have a final message to the listeners, or anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to like get in there.
Yeah, for sure. I think just keep creating, doing what you want, doing what you love, and connecting with the people that you want to connect with. As a person who, comes from all these little minority subgroups and subcultures, like, I love pushing a message. So like, if you go on my website, you'll see like, I did like some things where like I used makeup brands, and I was like, okay, creating a giant foundation range and like making that packaging like a bunch of different skin tones, because we see packaging that's like simple or whatever, and I love to like be diverse and showing that like everyone would be encompassed in that brand. Or like I use a little like campy fun elements of like different colors and playful dress up and stuff to show like the queer culture, the culture of youth and stuff like that, to like exemplify that. So I feel like make art, make what you want, connect to people you want to, and send your messages of positivity and light, because I think that in today's culture that's really needed.
Absolutely. I love that message. The like a very long-winded kind of like Nike just do it kind of thing. Just do it.
Stream Nike by Shy Girl on Apple Music and Spotify.
No, I love that. And also, so follow Leo on everything. Check out all of their stuff. They're amazing. And also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Tania Does. And subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube. If it was great having you here as the first person I'm interviewing for this in person, not the last, but the first. And also this is a great finale, I think, ending to this little season of people who I interviewed. I actually expanded my range of people I interviewed this time to like include like people who are in political activism as well and things like that. So but you're like in fashion and performance, and I think that that's cool as well to have a range. Range. So thank you so much. Thank you. All right. See y'all in the next season. Subscribe so you know when that comes out. But I love you all. Bye. Bye.